Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 12. The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom. Perhaps her interaction with the Paladin had restored her spirits, but Nia decided to say something to the captain. However, she was still talking to Gustavo. What should we do next? It's very dangerous to move around in this fog. Let's wait a bit more, and if there's nothing we'll dismount and rest. Come to think of it, are there fog-emitting monsters in the sea? Of course. However, there aren't any seas or lakes nearby. It's just like Squire Barrage said. Is it possible that she made a mistake or overlooked some piece of information? She wouldn't screw up like that. Frankly speaking, she's brought us safely all the way here, hasn't she? When we were leaving the Holy Kingdom, the Demihumans patrolling near the broken wall didn't spot us, either. We couldn't have done it by ourselves, could we? We could have broken through by force. Once again, the health gauge for Nia's heart plummeted. How much frustration had she gone through to bring them all the way here? Memories awoke in her mind. Oh, how she had asked them to stay behind, while she scouted by herself in the freezing rain, crawling around on the ground and getting all muddy in order to prevent herself from being spotted by ranger-type ambush skills. If she were spotted, Nia, as the sole vanguard, would most assuredly die. Even so, Nia had carried on with the determination to die, clinging to the belief that she was doing this to save her suffering countrymen. That's right, I'm not working hard because I want someone to praise me or anything. She tried her best to talk herself around. Even if the captain refused to acknowledge her contributions, the others would surely approve of her efforts, even if they did not say so. Wanting to be praised or rewarded for working hard is just a child's selfishness. This is what it means to be a shield of humanity. Biting your lip, making yourself a shield, all in order to keep pain and suffering from the people, is the duty of a paladin. Surely the captain must be the same way. Still, could she lower her volume? No, maybe the two of them think they're speaking quietly enough. The two of them were still talking. Nia personally thought that they should not focus on talking, and instead keep an eye on their surroundings. Especially Remedios, his beast-like danger sense and fighting ability, meant that she ought to be able to respond better than anyone else. She quashed the frustration in her heart and focused on the shadow and the fog. That was also because she had not yet regained the strength needed to call out to them again, and also because she did not want to continue listening in on their conversation. And then, perhaps the fog had been parted by the currents of the wind. For a moment, just a moment, Nia clearly glimpsed a shadowy wheelhouse. No way, is that a ship? Indeed, Nia had discerned the true nature of the shadow, a ship which floated upon the sea. In addition, it was a large ship, similar to a gallus. It was a momentary thing, and it was promptly veiled, again by the heavy fog, so even she was not sure that she had actually spotted a ship. Of course, such a thing was not possible by common sense. The information she possessed notwithstanding, Gustavo himself had already said there were no lakes in the vicinity. No, even if there was, only a madman would float a gallus in a lake. If this were a coastal region, it might be possible that they had used an old ship as a fortress, or moved it onto dry land for some other purpose. In fact, there were several examples of such things in the Holy Kingdom. However, doing so this far inland was impossible. I was seeing things, right? That was the best way to think of it. Still, her eyes refused to leave that direction, scanning over and over again. So you did see something after all, huh? Nia squeaked out in response to the question from the knight she had spoken to earlier. You were looking in the direction from just now, which means you did see something over there, right? No, that. I saw a shadow that looked like a ship. If she actually said that, they would probably think she was insane. Certainly Nia would. In that case, what should she say? Doesn't matter if you were mistaken, but could you tell me if you saw something? It'll help if something's happening over there. It was a perfect argument. She peeked around from side to side. Everyone was listening in to Nia's exchange with the paladin, and all eyes were on Nia. Things being what they were, she could not simply bluff her way through this by saying, "Oh, I was just mistaken. I just felt that there was a big shadow out there." Is that big shadow a monster? The person Nia least wanted to hear fired a question her way. Don't ask me, she thought, but obviously she could not actually say that. Nia sighed several dozen times in her heart before answering. No, it's not like that. I had the feeling I saw a building or something similar. Did you really see it? I'm not too sure. It just felt that way. It's quite likely that I was mistaken. A building. A fort of the Sorcerer's Kingdom or something like that. I don't know. However, the fact is that we haven't seen anything that looks like a fort of the Sorcerer's Kingdom near the roads, or near the villages. Those wouldn't be out of place on the borderlands. While she had felt that it was a ship, it would go across better if she said that she had seen a building which looked like a ship rather than a ship itself. I see, what do you think, Gustavo? I believe her. Although, you didn't verify that it was a building, did you? Yes, it was just for a moment. It might have been something else entirely. Captain Custodio, in any event, I think waiting in the fog is the best option. I don't think the Sorcerer's Kingdom's force will permit foreigners to enter. Makes sense. Let's do it then. Everyone, stay alert. She was answered by a chorus of voices, as well as Nia. While they were ostensibly keeping watch, everyone's attention was focused on a single point. That was because everybody wanted to verify what Nia had seen. The thick fog continued to obscure all vision, and just as everyone was starting to lose interest in the building, something happened. What? Nia and the knight to her right both gasped in surprise. A shadow was moving in the thick fog. Well, what? What was that? Nia could not answer the paladin's question. Saying it was a ship was crazy talk. Is that shadow moving? Isn't it a building? The captain's question was very reasonable. However, since Nia had not told her what it actually was, all she could say until the end was that it looked like a building. When I saw it, it looked like one. But it's moving now, isn't it? Also, the shadow looks like it's getting darker. Is it headed our way? Indeed, if that was really a ship, then it could move towards them. In other words, that ship was one which could sail on land. How could that? It's impossible. In the end, the shadow approached close enough through the fog until even the people other than Nia could see what it really was. It was indisputably a ship, and it was moving as though it were sailing upon the waves. Rows of long thick oars protruded from its sides, rowing like they were actually pushing through the water. Are you kidding me? The shocked words which escaped Remedio's mouth spoke for everyone in the group. Do the ships of the Sorcerer's Kingdom travel on land? The inland countries have all sorts of surprising tours. No, not like this, Nia said in her heart. She was probably not the only one to think that way. A ship that travels through fog. I seem to recall hearing about something like that before. I expected nothing less of you, Gustavo. Come, try and recall it. I'm sure you can do it. You taught me all kinds of things in the past. I'm sure you can do it. Right, want me to shake your head for you? Please don't do that. Besides, I'm not a sage or anything. It's just because our captain has no head for such facts which requires me to remember them on her behalf. That's because all I needed to do was ask you a queralt. It seems we've been spoiling you too much. Once we send Jaldabaoth back to hell, I'm going to make sure you make up for all your years of lost learning. Ah, thanks to that, I remember now. It's a ghost ship. I heard some sailors talk about it, a ship that appears out of the fog. It's a ship that should have sunk, but which sails once more, and it is helmed by the undead. Oh? Yes, I've heard that ghost ships are preceded by thick fog. Everyone, form up. If it's a ghost ship, then we'll be facing the undead. It's the enemy. Even the paladins could not help but be shaken by their captain's order. Wait. Please wait, Captain Custodio. The Sorcerer's Kingdom, which is our destination, is ruled by an undead king, so what if this is one of the Sorcerer's Kingdom's ships? What? He brought a ghost ship onto dry land and then used it. What the hell is this? It was only natural that Remedios would be dumbfounded. The undead could control other undead. However, what kind of undead being could put a ghost ship that would originally have sailed the seas under their command? Soon, the ship revealed itself in its entirety. Indeed, it was truly a ghost ship. It was broken down all over. There was a huge hole in the side of the hull, and the deck planks were curled upwards in many places. It was gigantic, even bigger than the Holy Kingdom Navy's flagship Iron Hammer of the Holy King. If it were not so dilapidated, it would give off an impression of tremendous power. The last of its 3 masts flew aft sails, while the others had regular square sails. However, they were all torn and tattered, and they did not look like they could accomplish their mission of propelling a vessel. There was an abnormal sharpness to the way its prow protruded forth. It looked very impressive, like it had been polished. In addition, it glowed with a dim, mystical light, and it gave the feeling that the ship was proud of itself. After that, the most eye-catching feature was the ensign it flew on top of the mainmast. It bore the symbol of the Sorcerer's Kingdom. The ship floated a meter off the ground as it moved forward. Soon, the ship passed by the group, who were frozen in place by the bizarre sight from the side. Nobody was able to move, and then the fog began to thin. Did that ship spew fog as it sailed? No, if that were the case, then the fog would have been thickest when one was near the ship, so they should not have been able to even see the hull itself. It was probably like some sort of concealing layer that shrouded the area around the ship with fog. Or perhaps it was a cage to keep its prey from escaping. Nia was scared stiff by that thought of hers. The Sorcerer King, an undead king. He might turn out to be a very scary person. When she heard he had summoned gigantic goats of uncertain origin, she had imagined them as adorable sheep, so perhaps Nia might have underestimated the Sorcerer King in some small way. It made her uneasy. Just like how paladins viewed the undead as enemies, the undead might consider paladins to be their enemies too. If that were the case, the fate of their group would be Even so, they had no choice but to beg him for aid, in order to meet Momin, the man who had once fought on par with Jeldabaoth. Nia wiped her sweat away with her palm. The fogs cleared. Everyone, let's go. The undead king who ruled these bizarre beings. Nia gathered up her resolve. The Sorcerer King is undead, yet he permits humans to live. What sort of person is he, really? Well, I wouldn't be able to see that side of him, being a squire and all.